Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the iRacing Today radio show for today, which is April the 28th, 2015. My name is Trevor Cameron, and I am your host, as I have been each and every week for almost 100 shows. Not quite yet, but we're on our way. How's everybody doing out there? I'm glad that you tuned in this week for our show, and here, as always, every time I turn around, looking away from the camera, as always, we have Mr. Chad Dalton being disinterested. No, wait, I forgot. When he looks at the camera, he looks creepy. So, Chad, how you doing tonight?
I am excellente. How art thou?
I art good. I'm, I'm doing this show because, because of the love. I mean, there's other things I could be doing, but I'm not. I'm doing this because we love this show. I mean, who doesn't love love? You know what I'm saying?
I love love.
Who doesn't love love? Well, I love love. So welcome everybody into the 96th episode of the iRacing Today radio show. 96th. Whose number? Did anybody ever have the number 96? Nothing jumps out at me, although I'm sure it's one of those things that it should be obvious, but it's not. Nope, can't think of anything. But thanks everybody for tuning in. We, of course, appreciate it as we do each and every week. Got a show for you guys this week because what else are we doing here? We're going to be talking about a little bit of news, and we've got one follow-up, response from a listener that we're going to talk about real-life driving experiences. We're going to read that for you guys, but keep coming with more of those. We'll read them in future weeks, and we've got some experiences which mostly involve, a certain amount of fun races where a certain amount of fun was had. And we're going to give you a kind of a recap and rundown on those. So, Chad, why don't we just run right into the news headlong like a bull running towards a wall that's all painted red? Because I'm assuming that's what they would do.
Okay, well.
Especially if it was in a China shop. Just saying.
Yes. Okay. Are you done now?
I'm done.
We mentioned this a few weeks ago, but the World Cup of iRacing Intimidator Super Speedway Championship is, of course, this coming Saturday. Saturday. Yeah, May the 2nd, 2015. Of course, that will take place at Talladega Super Speedway, and it will use the Gen 6 cars and the Toyota, the Ford, and the Chevy. But this will answer the nagging question, as it says. Which club can best use the draft, see the air, move in and out without wrecking, make green flag pit stops without spinning out,
like a ninja,
and live to tell about it all? And who can use their teammates that are in their club, hopefully, to intimidate their way to victory? There are two heats scheduled. The Eastern Hemisphere heat is slated for 11 a.m. GMT, which is 9 p.m. Sydney time, and it is open to all the European clubs, as well as the Australian, New Zealand, and Asia clubs. So if you belong to one of those clubs and plan to race in this event, now you know when you're supposed to show up. The Western Hemisphere, way over there in the west.
Why did that happen?
Because you needed to. Heat goes off at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is midnight GMT, and of course is open to all U.S. clubs, as well as the old Canadians, Brazil, Hispano-American, and International clubs. So if you're one of those clubs, you're in the Western Hemisphere Heat. Depending on which clubs qualify from the Eastern Hemisphere Heat, the finals will be held immediately following the Western Hemisphere Heat at roughly 10 p.m. Eastern Time, noon on Sunday in Sydney, or at 8 p.m. GMT, 4 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, May the 3rd. Of course, you can visit the World Cup page and the World Cup discussion forum for all the complete details.
Now, what's interesting from last week when we discussed this is the fact that this week it's actually on the front page of the iRacing page, because we kind of surmised that this was kind of a rogue World Cup thing, but I don't know. they put it on the front page with the World Cup of iRacing logo on there, so I guess this is an official thing. Because it seemed like it was kind of somebody doing something kind of cool and fun for the community. Well, it looks like it's official, so I guess we were wrong on that behalf.
Well, it's not official with iRating and safety rating.
All right, but it's a sanctioned event, I guess.
Yes, and
I don't know.
hosted routes.
So we talked about
And
that.
it is open setup.
Ah, excellent. We talked about that last week, and unfortunately, I realized upon looking at the dates when we got closer here that I'm totally not available for that, unfortunately, so I won't be able to participate. I have family coming in, my wife going away. Basically, I've got duties outside of the computer to take care of, so I will not be able to participate, sadly. Which actually, I'm very, very disappointed in because I was really hoping to participate in that, but that's okay because Chad's going to go in and represent Canada because because I can't, so somebody should, and go Club Canada. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. FYI, the race is 100 laps, and apparently, Racers Only TV will be broadcasting the Western Hemisphere Heat and the finals live at twitch.tv/for Racers Only TV.
I see. I don't believe I've heard of that establishment before, but I wish them luck with broadcasting that race. Broadcasting races
Yes.
can be a lot of fun. A
It
lot of
can
work.
be.
A lot of work.
So,
a lot of stress, too.
Yes. Just to clarify, it might be a sanctioned event, but it is in the hosted tournament section. So therefore, iRating, safety rating, no existence.
It's like they weren't even there, man.
Yep. And that's our news.
Well, kind of. I mean, they did post a story on the front page, which, again, we talked about this before the show, me and Chad, but I'm pretty sure we already knew all this, but they put it on the front page of the news section today, so let's talk about it. It's
Why? I already did. It's pointless. It's over.
Well, it says iRacing.com announced today. These are their words. And it has a date of April 28th, 2015.
Okay, the show you missed that I did by myself. I announced it on that show.
Well, you couldn't have.
talked about it.
Because it said announced today.
I talked about it on that show. And it had been announced or leaked or whatever you want to call it for like 2 months before I even did that. So this has been out like since the beginning of the year. So where has iRacing been?
Okay, now, see, they have words like last week. So I think this is kind of a follow-up to the fact that it was leaked. Anyway, the news is basically that they have a agreement to produce a virtual version of England's Rockingham Motor Speedway, not to be confused with the American version of Rockingham Speedway, which we already have. But it says a team of laser scan technicians and photographers from iRacing traveled to England to conduct work at Rockingham last week. So, I guess it's been scanned, is what they're basically saying. Now, why they're saying they today secured a licensing agreement? Well, I guess they said they announced today that it has secured a licensing agreement. Because obviously they already had the agreement in place, because they're not going to fly people over to England to scan and photograph a track and on the hopes that somebody's going to sign a piece of paper and say they're allowed to produce it. So I'm pretty sure that was already in place. But anyway, the end result is apparently we're getting Rockingham England style very shortly. Well, no, not very shortly. In the near future, I guess is what I should say.
Soon.
Soon.
You remember that picture that I sent you of the track? And I told you needed to put that in the show notes?
Yes, I do remember that.
That's Rockingham and England.
I remember looking at it and saying, wow, that looks pretty cool. I could not recall the picture right now, but I remember looking at it and saying, that looks like a track I want to race on.
Well, now you can.
Soon.
Soon.
Well, because I mean, it is among the world's most modern motorsports tracks and features a 1.48-mile American-style oval. I have no idea what that means. I mean, are the UK-style ovals, do they turn right? Or do they drive on the other? Is the groove on the left side as opposed to the right side of the track? I don't know. But American style oval along with multiple road course configurations, including the International Super Sports Car National Lake. Well, that doesn't sound like a pleasant configuration. Drive, drive, drive. Oh, now you're in the lake.
Water, underwater, get your boat.
And my personal favorite, the handling circuit. I don't even. I got nothing for that, man.
See, okay, the banner says news update. Update does not mean newsflash, we've got something new. Update means, hey, we've already told you about this. Here's an update.
Here's some further information that may be of interest to you.
Yes. So, anywho.
So what I'm saying is breaking news. First time we're hearing of this, we're getting Rockingham. That's what I get out of that. Am I correct in that, sir?
No.
All right, fine. So they've scanned it. So it's coming in iRacing soon time.
Yeah.
Now, moving right along. Last week we talked about real-life driving experiences and how they could be affected by our virtual racing experiences. And we asked for some feedback from you guys. And we have a response from a listener, which does not mean we are done with this. So if you have any and you have not answered yet, please do send those in and we'll read them on the show. Well, assuming that they are relevant, actually answer the question and aren't just filled with swear words. And you know what one of those is? This one from Danny Resser. No, not a swear word in here. Way to go, Danny. Danny says, and I quote, so I'm speaking as Danny. I don't do a Danny impression. I apologize.
I was going to say, ooh, yay, goody. A Danny impression.
I believe Danny might sound something a little like this.
No.
No, he's not. Doesn't have that Cockney accent to him. No. That's. I'm
No,
old.
you should just
I don't remember
read
what
it
people
as
sound
yourself.
like. I don't know what I sound like anymore. I'm so many people. Thought I would share one of my experiences regarding what you discussed. About 3 years ago, I was driving to work. It was quite early morning and still quite dark. Because it was so dark, I like this line. Because it was so dark, I saw the very large deer very late. I squeezed the brake without locking the wheels or engaging the ABS and steered into the next lane. I hit the deer rather hard, so this doesn't have as happy of an ending as mine. So I did all this. Then I nailed him.
But not as bad as I could have.
I hit the deer rather hard with the passenger side front corner of the car. It shattered the headlight, bent the hood and fender, peeled back the front bumper cover, and sent the hubcap flying. Now, why the hubcap had to get involved in this, I don't know. I mean, because the deer's all
Run away!
mangling the front of the car, and the hubcap's all like, that's it, I'm out. And just off the side.
I am not putting up with this.
Or the hubcap sitting there going, it's a nice day driving to work. Holy crap, deer! Engage injection seat. If I hadn't been able to slow and change lanes as efficiently, I'm convinced that the deer would have ended up in the car with me. We laugh at it. That could have been bad, but the way that Danny has phrased some of this amuses me. It would have ended up the car with me if I had hit it square.
You need a ride, dear.
Just turn over. So, how's your day going? I don't know about you, but I just hit a deer. Huh, funny. I was just hit by a car. Now I'm sitting in the passenger seat. Please drive me to the nearest veterinarian. I believe I require medical assistance.
And then afterwards, you might want to have a look at that front fender.
Also, by the way, you're going crazy because you're talking to a dead deer sitting in the passenger seat beside you, so you might want to stop at the hospital. They have the nice white hug me coats there. You'll
This has
like
turned
it.
into a really bad joke.
Continuing on with the story, who knows how it might have ended up. When I drove back through the same area later in the day and again the next morning, see, I wasn't the only person who actually investigated the scene of the crime like later on when I could see it, because Danny did the same thing.
Is it a crime?
Well, I mean, the scene of the incident, I guess. I mean, I never conducted a crime. I don't think Danny did either. I mean, that deer was clearly jaywalking. So I guess it is a scene of a crime. I never saw the remains of the deer. There was not gigantic roadkill smear on the highway. Brilliant use of imagery there, Danny. I think racing online has made me a better on-road driver because the skills to do each are similar. Knowing where to look, being ready for anything, and most importantly, efficient car control. So, thank you, Danny, for sharing your experience. Glad that it turned out okay and you were not hurt, and there was not, and I quote, gigantic roadkill smear on the highway. Which, incidentally, is the name of my first album. You know, when I become a rock star, I'm going. Actually, maybe I'll call my band that. And now, please welcome Gigantic Roadkill Smear on the Highway, playing polka.
That's a bit of a long name.
They'll never see that coming. But anyway, so thank you very much, Danny, for sharing your experiences. And again, glad that all that ended up happening was you probably never saw that hubcap again. I mean, I only have to imagine that maybe that hubcap landed on the deer. The deer took off, said, "This is mine now." You hit me. I take my prize. Maybe the hubcap jumped out as some sort of shield in front of the deer to protect it.
Yeah, there you go. Happy ending.
So I'm saying is Danny Resser's car is Captain America. That is the moral of the story.
Basically.
Indeed. So
fun races.
Anyway, reminder, everybody, send in your stories, please, and I will do my best to make light of situations that could have been potentially tragic, because that's how I roll. But the fun races were this weekend, and man, do we have some fun.
Well, that's all you need to know.
Yeah, there you go. So, I mean, yeah, you should have been there, man. I mean, it's not my fault.
Not my fault.
But no, we had a great turnout from a bunch of people out there. There was definitely some people we hadn't had a chance to race with before, and that was great. There were some regulars, there were some new faces. Face being a strong word since it was over the internet. Some new helmets,
Yeah.
and we had some great time. It was the first race, the oval race, was a bit problematic, shall we say? Although well, I mean, okay, get this out of the way. It was Legends at USA. A lot of us weren't really sure about what line to be driving. There was some people, as we know, who are mostly road racers who were racing oval, and then we did the other way around. And there were some challenges there. But you know what? No matter how much, I mean, we had a bunch of yellow caution flags as opposed to the blue caution flags, and we had why did I say yellow caution flags as opposed to just yellow flags or caution flags? Seems redundant. But in all that, you know what? I never heard anybody.
There's so many caution flags.
No, but we need new colors. We ran out of the yellow ones.
Yeah.
But nobody
heard what?
Nobody got upset. Like, everybody had, it was, oops, sorry, no problem, and we all had a good laugh, and then just sat there and chatted for the caution laps while while they're going around, and then carried on. Like, it was great. We had at one point in time, because of the way things had worked out, we had so many people on a lap down. We were trying to wave them back onto the lead lap, to give everybody a chance to have fun. And so Chad's telling me numbers, and I'm sitting there typing, and I should have gone back to watch the replay. I did stream it, and I do have a capture of that. I'm going to put it over on the YouTube channel. But like, there's times like I'm almost hitting the inside wall because I'm typing, and I look up. Oh, okay. Oh yeah. Somebody commented something about it's like, oh, Trevor's waving cars around. I guess it's like, yeah, that's why I'm driving. You might want to keep your distance while I'm doing this, because texting and driving is bad. See, look, I am living proof right now.
Yep.
But it was. I had a lot of fun. It was, and it was actually surprising that. We had the person who took the pole in the oval side, Brenton Hobson. Sorry, I kind of choked over my own tongue there. Won the pole in this one, and he almost won the pole in the other one, did he not? Until somebody came and stole his fun away. But we'll get to the other race in a minute. But it was cool seeing somebody who was, oval and road,
But
expertise.
another thing there is that Brenton lives, I believe, in Australia, and it was 7 a.m. in the morning when these races began.
Oh yeah,
So
right.
he had gone to bed, woke up, and decided to come out and race with us for him way early in the morning. So not bad for getting up in the morning.
Yeah, no kidding. Um, but yeah, I mean, we had what 18 people start the oval race, so
Yep.
I mean, it's not really. Chad started 17th. I mean, out of 18 cars, so I hear he's not very good at
On
oval racing. But
purpose. Yeah, it was actually funny. I mentioned on TeamSpeak the four fastest guys in practice towards the very end of qualifying had not even attempted a qualifying lap. And then actually the only one that I think did was Brenton. I think he went out and ran a qualifying lap at the very end, and of course, like Trevor said, won the pole. So uh, it would definitely made things interesting. I wanted to start in the back on purpose, not for really any particular reason except for just the simple fact that I wanted to try and race around everybody if at all possible.
hmm.
And it quite accomplished that, but got pretty close. But yeah, it was very entertaining back there. You should have been back there with us.
I was eventually.
Yes, but then everybody else was in the front, so it was kind of like you're too late. Party's over.
It's like it's go time. All right, I'm coming back. Oh, why is everybody going fast now? Where's the party?
Yes. But yeah, like Trevor said, we did have a few crashes, but they were kind of like, I don't know if this is funny or not, but it was interesting how we would have the first crash, like two or three cars would be involved, and then the yellow flag would come out, and then you drive, if you made it through the crash, you drive like another 50, 100 feet, and then it's like a totally separate crash happened after the caution came out. It was like two cars would get together, or one would get loose and spin. It was just like, man, they're wrecking everywhere. And it was like dodging. It's like swerving in and out of cones, like in driving school. It was like, man, there's stuff everywhere.
Well,
So,
and there was one time I remember, we're going down, I think it was the front straight, but it was one of the two straights. And I look in my rear view mirror, the virtual mirror there, and I saw like a car go flipping up into the air behind me. It's like, well, that's not good.
yeah.
And then the caution
Yep.
never came out. It's like, Chad threw the caution manually. It's like, really? I've seen a couple of guys spin, a little bit of tire smoke, and the caution comes out. That car went airborne. So I guess technically he wasn't on the racing line, so they decided not to throw the caution yet because, like,
Yeah.
well, he's not impeding
He's not in the
anybody.
way. He's not in the way because he's in the air. So we don't need to throw a yell. Um, but yeah, there was a. If you go through and look at the results, it's kind of interesting how people like where if you look at where they started and then you look at where they finished. Like you got the guy who started first finishing first, and that's a spoiler alert. But we'll get to that in a minute. But the guy who started eighth gets second. Guy starting sixth gets third. Third, fourth. 16th, fifth. 17th, sixth. Second, seventh. And then like you go all the way down to the end of the list, and you got like the guy starting 12th and 13th and 10th and 14th. So it's kind of like there's a pretty good mix there of where everybody started and ended up.
Hmm. Let's see.
Especially that one guy right there. I think his name was Trevor. He started fifth and finished 11th. So
Oh, wait, hold on. But let me look down this other list here. This one that's titled INC. I think that stands for incidents. If I look down that list, there's only one goose egg in that entire list. And who is it? Oh, it's that Trevor Cameron guy. So yeah, he started fifth and he finished in fifth and finished in 11th. But he had a clean card. Never hit a thing. The only person who did not hit nothing. So
that is pretty impressive.
I'll take that.
But he made up for it in the second race. So
The second race was, yeah, that was an adventure unto itself.
But yes, back to the first race. Of course, as a spoiler alert just went off, Brenton managed to not only win the pole, lead 47 laps, most of which were under caution, but we won't say that. And ended up holding off a pretty hard charging Dean Mall there at the end of the race. So Brenton put the number 88 Legend in victory circle.
And more importantly, had fun.
Yes.
That's the critical thing here. But
Dean also finished second, as I mentioned. John Jarrett got third. Ben Stock fourth. Joshua Matthewson fifth. And a really cool dude named Chad got sixth. Which is funny because
why is that
I
funny?
spent most of the race like towards last place because my race, like I said, I started in the back and I kind of did it on purpose, and then I like made my way up towards the front. Well, then I got in one of the wrecks. Not like it didn't end up wrecked or spinning out. I just kind of got hit in the side. So I pitted just to make sure, that the car was going to be fine. Of course, we had unlimited resets. So, I go back to the back, come back out, get in another crash, go into pits, fix the car. Then I kind of turned into admin guy when Trevor said we were trying to get everybody back on the lead lap. 'Cause for some odd reason, suddenly like 5 cars ended up a lap down out of the blue. And
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Something went
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah, so we try to get everybody back. We didn't obviously get everyone back, but we got pretty close. And so then I kind of went back forward again, then went back, and then went back forward, and managed to kind of go forward at the end. My biggest problem was that I could not shift into gear.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yes, I'm not sure what was up with that, but I mean, you do. I found out very quickly that you need to use the clutch. I was trying to blip the throttle, which I'm actually very good at, but I, for some odd reason, could not do it at all in the Legend.
I seem
And
to recall a certain start, Mr. Chad, where Chad
yes,
forgot that he had 3 pedals.
and so like what happened was I on that start I knew I couldn't blip the throttle, so I was like, all right, I'll try and clutch it. Well, apparently, I was out of sync on how I did all that because I think I pushed the clutch down and then pushed the button, or vice versa. One of those two happened, which caused me to not shift into the gear I needed to be in, and I was already pretty much at the max, rev for that. I think it was in second gear. So I needed to go through that. I was kind of in the way. Well, the guy behind me did check up and did a good job of, not smashing into me. But then his restart was kind of slowed, and the whole outside line kind of checked up. Well, then somebody came up there and tagged him in the rear, and then they all kind of crashed, which I didn't have anything to do with it, but I did trigger it. So that was a great way to, you know, show the people out there how cool of a guy I am. I'm just going to check up your entire outside line and make you all crash.
Well, I mean, they knew what they were getting into to a degree, I suppose, but they probably expected me to be the troublemaker, but, zero
Yeah.
incidents, so I was not the troublemaker.
Yes. But you drop like a rock.
I did after a while. I mean, I spent most of the first bit of the race up in the top 5 positions, although with the cautions that was kind of easy. But on the all the restarts, I managed to hold my position mostly, and then for some reason on the last restart we had, I just got stuck on the outside, and just people would pass me left, right, center, and like, all right, I'll just hold my line and wait for this nightmare to end, and then I'll just get back in line if I can.
Yes. So yeah, despite all the cautions, it was still a lot of fun. I enjoyed it, and everybody else seemed to enjoy it as well. And we had some good conversation under the yellow flags. I actually went back and watched Trevor's stream, at least the oval part. I haven't watched the road part yet, which I'm looking forward to because of what he'll tell you here in a minute. But it was kind of neat to revisit, I guess, the conversation that was going on under cautions, because sometimes when you're, riding around under cautions, you don't always hear everything, or you're trying to wave around people. Unwave, come back. You're trying to wave people around, you lose track of what's happening. So, but yeah, it was pretty cool. I know that one of the conversations that I kind of missed out on in a sense, was that apparently the reason why road racers hate oval racing is because of cautions.
Yeah, that was a big discussion point for a while there.
So,
And I believe there was several comments that sounded something along the lines of, and excuse the accent. So, is this what NASCAR's like?
yes. Um, so yeah,
It's like, well, no, not always. A lot of times they don't have they don't have a caution after every restart. But
yep. But overall, that was fun. And then we transitioned to road racing.
we did. Actually, there's something else I was thinking about on the. We ran down half the order here. Might as well give everybody else their due. Finishing in 7th, we had Adam Halleck. 8th was our well known to you guys, Mr. Jeff McPherson. 9th was Matthew Painter, or Painter. Painter. Yeah, we'll go with Painter. 10th was Todd Davis. 11th was yours truly. 12th, we had Mr. Danny Resser, who, if the next time I see him on the track, he does not have a car that has a scared-looking deer ducking a hubcap on the front of his hood, I'll be highly disappointed. In 13th was J.E. Hyde. He's so cool, he just needs initials. He doesn't have a name. It's just J.E. Hyde. I'm guessing that's Jekyll and Hyde, maybe?
Or maybe John.
Could be John. I don't know. 14th was Roy Clark. 15th, Josh Tanner. 16th, Jason Lloyd. 17th was Julio Areo. And 18th was a very disappointed and unfortunate Walter Thomas, who had a plethora of issues that led to him only finishing 7 of the laps. I believe he ended up getting crashed, got a black flag, got disqualified.
Yeah, he got
his internet died.
Too much damage, and then his internet quit for about an hour.
Yeah, so poor Walt had.
He did mention though that he had fun complaining.
In good spirits. He was because we were rather sad that somebody didn't get a chance to really enjoy the entire experience. So, but.
Yes.
So hopefully Walt will have better luck with all of his equipment and flags and internet next time. Well, at least he didn't rip the wheel off his desk like, a certain Mr. Scott did. So, not during this race, but the other race. So that was the oval race. Pardon me. And then we went to Summit Point. Now, for me, a key factor in this is the fact that I purposely did not practice the Cadillac at Summit Point, because I thought it would be more fun that way. I also thought I would have a full 30 minutes to practice and get up to speed before we started racing. However, because of all the cautions we had in the oval race, the road one kicked off before we were done. So I didn't have the full amount of time to practice as well. Plus, I was balancing all the streaming stuff and stuff. So I will say that one started off awesome in the fact that Chad's going over all the rules, make sure everybody understands what's going on. And he says, okay, this is a standing start. So what's important is the lights are going to come on. You make sure you don't move until it says it's time to go. Otherwise you'll get a black flag. So he's like, oh, so you got to make sure, in case you hadn't done it before. So I says to Chad over TeamSpeak, I said, Chad, okay, so as I understand it, because I've never tried a standing start in iRacing before. I've had standing starts where I was at, when I'm doing my road racing, I'm at the tail end of the field, so I'm not really looking to get a good launch. I'm just looking to make sure I don't get hit kind of thing. So I never really tried to get a good launch off the line before. So I figured, you know what? This is the time to do it. Let's give this a shot. So I said, Chad, as I understand it, I should put it in gear, push down the clutch, and then rev up the engine, and then as soon as the lights go out, then drop the clutch, and I'll go. And Chad says, that's right. So The lights came on. I put it in gear. I pushed down the clutch. I pushed down the gas pedal, and the car goes whee and starts going rolling forward, and I get a black flag. It's like, well, that didn't work. And I don't know if we were on a hill and maybe I because I was in neutral, it
No,
just rolled.
I know what your problem is because I discovered it tonight when I was watching your stream. I noticed that when you joined the road session, you had, for some odd reason, lost the calibration in your pedals.
Oh, I didn't have a
And
clutch on that
and
car.
you turned your clutch off because you said, and I quote, I'm using auto clutch here because there's no way I'm gonna drive a road course with a clutch on.
I completely forgot I did that.
And what makes it even better is that in that car, you did not have to use the clutch. So you turned it off for no reason, and they got mad at me because you rolled on the start when it was your own fault.
Yep. Now, as soon as you said that, I completely remember doing that. Like, in my brain, I
Yes.
was still because we used the clutch in the Legends, and we just got out of there. So my brain's like, "Yep, clutch is still there." But you're right, I totally did that,
Yep.
and it's
And
evidence, like
he's
right
got
there on the
video
stream.
proof.
Yep, on the stream. There it is. There's Trevor turning off his clutch, and there's Trevor 20 minutes later trying to use the clutch.
Yep, exactly. So, and I was sitting there because, like, I was just casually watching it. I'm just sitting there eating dinner, watching it, and I'm like, oh, he's having problems with the pedals. I was trying to figure out what was happening, and then I see you like you've got the auto clutch, and you're kind of like staring at the screen. And you're like, nah, I don't want that. And then you like hit done, and you go jump in the car, and I'm thinking, huh.
And
I
probably
wonder if he
at
ever
that
went
point in
back and
time,
changed that.
yeah, at that point in time, you're thinking, didn't he say he put in his clutch on the start?
Yeah. And I'm going, I think we figured out why he suddenly started rolling.
Mystery
Uh,
solved.
yes. So, free rookie tip of the week. If you're gonna hold the clutch in on the initial start of the race and push down the throttle, make sure that the clutch is actually, on.
Yeah, you actually turned it so that, perhaps it could be used. So, yeah, all right, mystery solved. I appreciate the fact
Uh,
that you waited until we went live to tell me that I was an idiot and you didn't give me any forewarning of that. That made that all the better.
Well, it made it more classic. I mean, for those of you that only watch the audio version, for this show only, you need to go back to about the 37-minute mark of this show and watch Trevor's reaction on the screen because it was pretty great.
As the light bulb comes on.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Uh,
I'm an idiot.
that was pretty awesome.
So, well,
No,
you know what?
I
And then I cleared my own black flag because I was an admin.
yeah.
So, not only did
While
I
you were in the hayfield.
yeah, well, I figured I might as well go hang out if I'm going to be doing stuff anyway. I mean,
Now I would have told you earlier, in all seriousness, but I literally just watched this video before we sat down, so I was sitting there thinking about that. But, anyways, the road race after that did actually get off to a decently clean start until after the first turn, and it,
it got off to a decent start until we had to make the cars go in a different direction.
yeah, and then I knew that Danny Resser was involved. I think John Stewart was involved.
The guy
Or
who,
Jarrett, sorry, not Stewart.
John Stewart, the guy who
Somebody
runs the
else.
Daily Show.
No, I know who it was. It was Ben, wasn't it?
Or,
They all got in this big crash on the back. Well, I don't know if that's back straightaway, but
yeah,
uh,
I'm pretty sure it was Ben. Yeah, it was Ben because I remember at one point in time I'm racing around him and it's like, wait, you're for position. What are you doing back here? I said to him.
yeah, and I remember he like really kind of flew through the air and spun around and had all kinds of fun things happen to him. Um, so they got off to a really great start with getting their cars wrecked up. But of course, we had unlimited repairs in that race too. But the unfortunate part for them is that there were no cautions, so they couldn't catch back up. Uh, for everybody else, except for Dean, I think the race got off to a pretty good start. Dean also got a black flag. Wonder if he had his auto clutch on.
Yeah, because
See,
he said, "You're not the only ones." And then but he took the penalty. It's like, wait, I
yeah,
I would have cleared that for you.
he just swallowed it. He was like, "All right, I made a mistake. I'm going to man up for it." Trevor, on the other hand, decides to wreck his car and clears black flag.
I had the power. It's like, oh, all right, okay,
Yes.
grass, everything's good. Yeah,
Just type in exclamation point clear my number, perhaps. Um,
drunk with
now,
power. That's what I was.
I will take the opportunity to talk more about Brenton here because he's the theme of our show tonight. Um, he, as Trevor said a little while ago, he won the pole for the oval race. Obviously, won the race. Almost won the pole for the road race, but the most awesome person ever beat him out for it. Um,
Swooped in and said, "Nah, son, you ain't gonna have fun at our fun races. This is my dojo."
by 0.071. That was the interval for the pole. But anywho, in case you're like, who the heck are they talking about? It was me. And I will say this though, in all seriousness, he and I had a fantastic battle for the first 17 or 18 laps of the race. It was a 26 lap race. I mean, obviously it was a 30-minute race, but it ended up being in 26 laps. And for those first 18 laps, he and I were pretty much identical. There, the first few laps, he was pretty much right on my tail, and then there were a couple times where I pulled a little bit away, then he caught me right back, then I pulled a little away, then he catch me right back. And then about lap 14, I think it was, they were going down the front straightaway there at Summit, and I'm not gonna lie, he made like the perfect pass. He pretty much drafted me all the way down the front straightaway, which if you've never been at Summit Point is pretty long. And right as we got towards the very end of the straightaway there, I was kind of getting ready to gear down for the. It's funny because I want to say gear up because it's like, all right, we're getting ready to turn, but in this case, it's gear down because we're turned. And I was getting ready to do all that, go through, the motions of going through the first turn there. And I kind of like glance at my mirror to make sure, that he's not going to fly, into into my right side because I didn't know where he was at that moment. And I didn't know if maybe he was looking the inside or whatever. And I kind of look at my mirror and he just like casually pulls over to the right. He's like right behind me at this point, but he just kind of pulls right over to the right, gets just slightly up to my inside. I kind of hit the brakes to go into the turn. He hits the brakes at basically the same time, and but it's not so much that he outbraked me, but he just entered that turn extremely smooth, which I did too, but he did it a lot better. And that's why I kind of say it was just like the perfect pass. He was just like follow, 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 kind of step out. Thank you, I'll take this. And then kind of carried on. For the next 3 or 4 laps, in my mind, I was thinking, all right, I feel like I can stay with him, but I don't know. I was kind of a little bit worried, like, okay, is this the point where he's just gonna pull off and leave me? Because I never raced with him, so I don't know if he's like super really good at road racing, and I'm only somewhat good at it. And so I drove pretty hard the next couple laps. It's kind of the same thing. He would beat me a couple laps, and I beat him. And there was one lap where I had a really good lap, and he had actually pulled away from me a little bit, and I was probably 7 or 8 car lengths back, and I had a really good lap and got it all back and got right to his rear bumper. And I don't know what happened, but as we went in on like lap 18, we went into turn one where he had just, passed me a few laps before. I don't know if he missed his braking point or if he hit it but didn't give it enough brake. But he kind of slid through the turn and kind of missed it. And I was pretty much right behind him, so that allowed me to get back in front of him. He did run off the road a little bit, but not a terrible amount. Um, but that was kind of the difference right there in the end between the two of us. But in all seriousness, those 14 laps we were both, in my opinion, we were both putting on a show, even though nobody could see it on Trevor's
Yeah,
stream.
because you were
Because,
nowhere near me.
yeah, he's over there in a hayfield somewhere. I think at one time he even jumped a dirt mountain. Did I hear that correctly?
I don't think I actually jumped anything, but I did spend a lot of time in that field investigating all the trackside objects and yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know what it was. It wasn't you. You weren't jumping hills. You were checking out porta potties. That's what it was.
Yes, right in the middle of that
Yes.
field. Didn't seem safe.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably not, especially with you around.
Apparently, Brenton says that he missed a downshift by a little bit, which is why.
Ah, gotcha. I see that now. So yes, that would explain it. I knew something happened because he just suddenly kind of slid through the turn. So I was like, whoa. But yeah, that was pretty fantastic racing right there. So yay us.
Yeah, so you guys had some fantastic racing. Now, me, on the other hand, what I did
You had some fantastic parking.
was I decided that for some reason, let's see, the turns that I struggled with the most were the kind of, well, mostly turn 5, but kind of the 4, 5, 6 combo, and occasionally 7 as well, which is the most, I guess, technical part of this track. Like, this track is a pretty easy track. I mean, overall, there's only 10 turns in it. A lot of straight stretch, but like the 4, 5, 6, 7 is when you kind of go around this. Like 4 is just kind of a kink that sets you up for 5, or in my case, upsets your car so that it doesn't even want to think about making turn 5, which is a pretty sharp left-hander. Then it kind of goes around this little mini carousel thing through 6 and 7, and then you kind of come out the other side. Now, in between, what it creates between, say, turn 5 and turn 8 is this little field in the middle that you drive around. Now, instead of driving around it, I decided to drive through that field all the time because turn 5 is really very, very, very easy to miss. And that was where I struggled the most. So for some reason, I decided in my brain that the best place to try to gain more speed was try to go through the turn that I couldn't make normally even faster, and try to gain speed that way. That did not work out very well. And I ended up in that field, probably at least a half dozen times during that race. Right in the middle of that little field, there's a porta potty. And I can tell you with great conviction that it does not clip. You drive right through it. When you go through it, inside of it, they do not laser scan the inside of the porta potty because I parked my car inside of it for a while, looking around to see if, maybe if I got it right at the right angle, I could see the walls inside. Did they bring the old laser scanner inside there, and would there be a toilet? There's not. It just kind of disappears from existence. I don't know what it looked like from the outside. That would have been interesting to see if anybody had, came and take a look. Does it disappear, or does it look like my car's just sticking, the nose out of one side of the porta potty and the tail out of the other? I don't know. But yeah, I spun in that field a bunch. I ended up turn 10, which is the last turn, which is important because that gives you your speed for the longest straight stretch there. And I experimented with my line a few times there. And if you get that wrong, there are curbs and grass and dirt that are just ready to grab your car, and I ended up smashing into a wall there. I think I ended up using up 3 cars on this track because, I spun out. And, we've talked about this track in the past, and we've talked about how one of the intimidating parts of this track is the fact that there's not a lot of walls. Like, there's not a lot of track things to keep you on the track. There's a lot of open field. There's a lot of places you could just go and just sail off. It doesn't give you that sense of enclosure like a lot of tracks do, where you can only go so wrong, which we found, we talked about, and I found that kind of intimidating as a, beginning road racer. Well, I'll tell you what. 3 cars worth will tell you that there are walls to find on this track, because I found every single one of them, smash my nose into them, and then limp back to the pits. So every wall that's there, not only are they there...
Did you turn your brake pedal off too?
They're very hard, and they kill the car. Because I did it multiple times during that race. So it's like, all right, limp back to the pits, and all right, let's try this again. Turn 1, sailed off into that a few times. Yeah, it was... I think I smashed the wall off turn 3 once. I smashed the wall off turn 10 once. And I think There was something around turn one that I smashed into once too. Just as you enter turn one, there's some. I think they're tire barriers, but I ended up smashing into them once too. I think. So it was an eventful race, But
It really was.
I still had fun. I mean, like I said, that was the whole thing. It's like I didn't really care as long as I wasn't impeding anybody else's fun. I mean, there was a couple people. A couple times I actually got out there and raced. Jason Lloyd was one of the guys who wasn't having a particularly great race, but when we got close by each other, we had some good back and forth, and I was following him, and so that was fun for a while. And every time Danny kept coming up on me, it's like, all right, Danny's coming up on me, and I just sail off into a field, and he'd come on and say, man, I wanted to race you. Why do you keep, every time I come near you, you just sail off into that field?
I think you were ruining Danny's fun because he really wanted to race around
I
you,
know, and he kept coming
every
up.
time he just kept crashing.
Yep, every time he came near me, it's like, apparently Danny intimidates me.
Apparently.
I mean, I'd read the deer story and I knew what happens there. So I mean,
Yeah.
I was just waiting to get inside the car with Danny. He's like, hey, thanks for smashing into me. I'm just gonna sit here. Don't mind the blood. Sorry. Is this your hubcap?
There was a comment that Trevor did say towards the end of the race where he said something along the lines of, didn't you guys know that these fun races were all about passing me or something like that?
Oh yeah.
And and then Dean came back with a pretty hilarious line, I thought, and said something along the lines of, and I'm not going to say this exactly how he said it because I don't remember, but it was something along the lines of, was that on the track or in the field?
There was something else that somebody said. Yeah, I went. Somebody went to pass me, or they went. They were I was a lap car to them, and they came around me, and I kind of sailed it off into the field a little bit, and he comes down on the line. I can't remember who it was, and he said, I said, thanks, Trevor. It's like I'm just going to assume that that was you just getting out of the way and not crashing the car. And I came on. It's like, well, I feel it can be both, because I was both crashing the car and getting out of your way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. You guys need to come out for these things. These are, it's one of those things where we've, and I said it on Twitter afterwards. Like, we say it all the time. That we have the greatest people in iRacing seem to be fans of our show, and like every time we do an event like this, or the endurance races, or any of these things, you guys just keep proving it over and over again. That you guys are just some of the best examples of people that are on this service. Everybody had fun. Nobody, nobody got stressed out over it. Like, it was just people were crashing, people were doing stuff, and everybody was just laughing and having a grand old time. So, we definitely appreciate you guys and how, you guys get it. You know what I mean? Like, you guys get why we're here and what we're doing. Why we're using this sim as a relief and a hobby and something to have fun with. So kudos to you guys for keep proving us right as to that our fans are some of the most awesome people out there.
Yes, I of course second that, but it was also a few people said this, but the Cadillac at Summit Point I think was a really good combination as well, because that's the type of car that you can kind of muscle around that place. Unless you're Trevor, of course. But
yeah, I muscled it into the field.
yeah,
And I mean, it takes a lot of muscle and work to drive through the field because you don't get a lot of traction in that grass, let me tell you.
it does. I will give you credit for that. But for the rest of us that were muscling around on the racetrack, it really is a fun combination. So, and if you've never participated in that combination, I recommend trying it. But I wanted to take a moment before we talk about the results of this race and then the other race we did, and just mention a couple of Facebook posts from our Facebook page from people that participated in the fun races or, said something really nice to us. Roy Clark, who we mentioned obviously before, he said that he really enjoyed the fun races, and he also said Rob, who we'll mention here in a minute, he thought Rob had him at one stage, but then and this is Roy's words, I'm not making this up. He said, "But I channeled my inner Chad for the last 5 laps. Thanks for a great time." To which I responded, "I don't know if that's a good thing."
I don't know if you should do
But
that.
I guess it is. And then Roy said, "Yes, it was a good thing. For a number of laps, Rob was over me like a cheap suit. But for the last 5 laps, drove the track, did my fast laps, and the other 4 were just as quick. No Kimmy, just Chad." Rob came back and said, "Yes, it was a great battle. I was making good ground on you right up until I ended up in your trunk." I'm not sure if that's how you want to do anything. He said, "I was so freaked out when you almost lost it coming out of the turn that I hit the pit road speed limiter, then lost my composure for several laps until it was all over. It didn't help any that you were throwing down some great laps as well. Great race, though. Learned a few good lessons." Then he puts in parentheses. "Since I've been on iRacing less than 2 months, I usually learn critical lessons each race." Then he says, "I went off track at the end of qualifying with the wheel, turned 360 around, started the race like that, and almost took out Trevor before he even had a chance to take himself out."
Awesome.
And then Rob also said that he made it to the road race. He didn't make it to the oval race, which is probably a good thing because of the cautions. But he says, "But whoa, that was fun." And of course, then he mentions his battle with Roy, and then thanks Trevor and myself for hosting the race and for everything we do on the podcast.
Oh,
You're welcome, Rob. Thank you for listening. Chris Bourne said, "Had fun, everybody. Couldn't be there." Kind of the same thing with Roby Shuck, who apparently had to go eat dinner with family, so that's more important.
yep. He had some family stuff that he. I was talking to him on Twitter about that stuff, and it was sad that he could not make it.
Yes. And then last but not least, we mentioned him before, but Brenton talked about, I mentioned earlier that he woke up very early for the first green flag, and then he said, "Thank you guys for putting on the races, and annual events are too far apart."
Yeah, it's kind of a, hey, we don't have a schedule so much as it's a, hey, we haven't done one of those in a while. Let's do one kind of thing.
Yes. So, anyways, but what are the results of the road race, Mr. Cameron?
Well, they were as follows. In first place was Mr. Chad Dalton.
Well, why the long pause?
I was just waiting for you to finish your celebration. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Boom confetti. I need that. Where is it? I mean, come on.
Coming in second was Mr. Brenton Hobson, who we've talked about a bunch here. Mr. Initials Hyde, J.E. Hyde finished in third. Roy Clark came in fourth. Rob Mangold, I love that name. Rob Mangold. It's a manly sounding name. Mangold. Came in fifth.
And go.
Dean Mall finished in sixth. Matthew Painter finished in seventh position. Todd Davis, it says Todd Davis 2, which is his username, which when I first started iRacing, I thought that was something that people did on purpose, and I thought that would be read as Todd Davis the 2nd. That was my ignorance about how usernames were when I first got into the sim.
It could be the second movie of Todd Davis.
Todd Davis, the sequel. Now finishing in 8th. Finishing in 9th was John Jarrett, not to be confused with John Stewart.
Sorry about that.
Finishing in 10th position was our friend Danny Resser. Finishing in 11th was Jeff McPherson. Finishing in...
Whoa, back up.
Sorry?
Are none of these other people our friends?
No, just Danny. That's it.
Okay.
He's our friend.
So we don't like anybody else?
No, they're all kind of cool, I guess, but our friend Danny. Hubcap Dear Danny. Finishing in...
Hubcap Dear Danny.
The newest sitcom coming to ABC this fall. It's Hubcap Danny.
Featuring Todd Davis. The second.
The second. Finishing in 11th was Jeff McPherson. Sorry, I was distracted by Steam popping up something telling me that one of our listeners is now playing iRacing. So instead of listening to our show live, they're apparently playing iRacing, and I'm okay with that. So Finishing in 12th was myself, Mr. Trevor Cameron, a full 3 laps down, which is, I guess, all things considered, not bad, considering I spent most of the race
Yeah.
in fields or the pits. 13th was Julio Arreo. 14th was Mr. Jason Lloyd. 15th, poor 15th, was Ben Stock, who had a horrible race, who smashed up his car in every way possible. And
I think at one point he said it turned into an exhibition for him.
yeah. And 16th position was Josh Tanner, who had an even worse race, unfortunately. So, which is too bad because his lap times were way better than most of ours, but had some issues. So that was our fun races, the official side of it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then we, as our our tradition is, we decided to have a extra race, which was
Bonus.
a bonus race, which wasn't counted in the official races, even though they counted for nothing anyway. And we decided to take a random collection of cars to the Monza Oval and make them turn right, just because that makes it even more interesting. And there was nothing on the line. There was it was just, hey, let's just see how much carnage we can create here for 15 laps at the Monza Oval, because the Monza Oval is, as we've said in the past, ridiculous.
Especially when you go right.
And really, really, really fast.
Yes.
But let's see. The highlights of that were, let's see. I think it was who popped in and said they knew that I'd been on the track, because as soon as they came in, got onto the track, and all they saw were those foam blocks all over the road. It's like, well, Trevor's been here, obviously.
It might have been Dean.
Because that was the first thing I did. I just went, it's like, all right, dunk, 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 dunk.
Yeah, I think it was either Dean or Jeff McPherson.
But yeah, we had the Radical, the Lotus, and the MX-5.
Yeah, we had I put in the Lotus 49, then the Mazda Cup, the Mazda Roadster. Then I put in the Radical, as Trevor mentioned, and then the fifth car. What was the fifth car? I forget now what the fifth car was.
Nobody drove it, so.
No. So
Ford GT? Was it?
Yes, Ford GT, because I remember now, as you said that, I remember that I said, okay, I'm going to close my eyes and randomly select a car, and that was the one that I selected. We obviously threw in one free car just so that anybody could join, but we had 2 Lotus 49s, 4 Radicals, and 1 Mazda, I believe it was a Roadster, which is what Mr. Jeff McPherson raced, which ended up being a great choice.
Oh yeah, I'm glad somebody picked that car, because that led to most of the amusement of the event.
Yes, and when we say that it was a great choice, we don't necessarily mean because he was super fast and number 1 on the charts. We mean because it was really easy to have unbelievably insane, awesome crashes involving his car.
Yeah, I was. One thing I was amazed at. Now, I mean, that's probably my ignorance coming through, but the fact that the Lotuses were so much faster than the Radicals, like,
Yes,
that surprised me.
a lot faster.
I mean, that's not a new car. That's an old car. As I mentioned on the grid, looked like only half a car, because I mean, when you're up behind it, you don't see body work. All you see is just engine parts.
Yeah.
I was like, I think somebody forgot to scan in the rest of your car. Yeah.
But yes, for pretty well at the very beginning. Also, something that we noticed about the Radical is apparently it doesn't like to be touched because it just falls apart.
No, it does.
I think it was Dean that ended up scraping the wall and got a meatball flag, which eventually got him disqualified from the race because obviously he chose to ignore the meatball flag. The other interesting thing was that when you draft in those cars and the Radicals, you just literally lock to the rear person's bumper, and it actually slows you down. Not by much, but a little bit.
Well, as you say, you forgot the most important meatball flag of that race.
Yes.
which was the fact that on the pace lap, I was messing around with Chad because I was right behind him, and just kind of, whacked into the rear. Not super hard, whatever. Chad's all like, "What the flip?" And I got a meatball flag before the race even started.
But it really did tear up your left front pretty good. Because I saw it in my mirror. I was like, man, that turn, that kind of ripped your left front up pretty good. And then, like a few minutes later, I didn't hear you originally say that you had a meatball flag. And then a few minutes later, it's like, I got a meatball flag. I'm like, what? So, yes. That's what you get for messing with me, boy.
Well, and the thing is, once we got started, because I just ignored it, was the fact that I was still able to draft up to you guys. Like, I could still basically maintain the exact same speed, even with, my car apparently mangled to the point where it had required repairs.
Yeah. So I'm not sure what to make of that. Apparently the Radical may not be the best oval car.
The Radical is made of tinfoil.
Yeah. And falls apart instantly. Do you need a car that falls apart at the very second you touch something? Well,
we got a car for you.
But yes, it was still a blast. Part of the reason why Jeff became so picked upon
Popular
in the race was because what was probably one of my favorite moments of this race. So I'm behind Trevor, and I'm pushing him, and because the Radical is not, in case you don't know what the Radical is, it's got a huge wing on the back of it, and you can see through the car because there's no like cockpit necessarily. Like you're not inside of something. You're kind of just sitting out in the open. It's an open, it's kind of like an Indy car. And so I could see ahead, like I could see where Trevor and I are going. So Trevor and I come out on the back straightaway. I see the nice bright Tar Heel blue ugly thing of Jeff McPherson's car, hanging out down there on the bottom of the back straightaway, or the right side of it. I guess it's not really the bottom. And, he's going at his top speed, which was a little bit lower than ours, like 20 mile an hour, I think it was, or something like that. So here comes Trevor and I. Trevor casually makes his way over to the right lane and directly lines himself up with Jeff. So at which point, I start screaming, "Get him, Trevor! Get him, Trevor!" Because I thought, Trevor was just going to casually destroy his car at the back of Jeff's car. And then Trevor pulled a fast one on me, and at like literally the last possible second,
it was perfect.
Yanked his car to the left, missed Jeff altogether, which instantaneously put me at the rear of Jeff's car, which then eventually put me underneath Jeff's car because I jacked his car up into the air. He went flying, and I died almost instantly. That was pretty hilarious.
It was perfect. See, and the thing is, I didn't know what your field of view was, so I knew you knew he was there, but I didn't know how much view you had, so I didn't know if I was going to be able to pull it off. But
yes.
I pull over, look at my rearview mirror, and all I saw is punt. It's like excellent.
It was perfect.
I mean, and the other fun time we had with Jeff was the fact that you were drafting with one of the other radicals. I don't remember who it was. And I was kind of dipping in and out and playing with you guys and whatnot. And Jeff was down on the apron, going a fair bit slower, as we mentioned. So I decided, I knew I wasn't going to be able to make it work, but it's like, you know what? There's not enough room up there. I'm going to see if I can pass him on the grass. So I pulled over to the grass in the corner. As soon as I did, of course, the car just went sideways on me, as I knew it would, but I wanted to see if I could do it anyway. And so I ended up spinning out. He hits me. I kind of go up on the track. He kind of sails past me. We're now just about to the front stretch. We're coming out of turn 4. And my car comes back down the track just as he's coming up to me. And basically the front of the Radical is kind of shaped, almost ramp-like. And it couldn't have been a more perfect field goal attempt. I just punted him right off the track. And I'm laughing and laughing and laughing. And like for a while, and then my car came to a stop, and then I went and, got it fixed or whatever. And then, I swear, like a minute later, Jeff comes on the radio and says, "I just stopped rolling."
I remember that too because I remember I had like faked that I was gonna wreck him, and I like kind of turned right in front of his car and was like, "Haha, didn't really wreck you." And then I'm going down the front straightaway, and I'm kind of looking at my mirror because I know that Trevor was trying to do something, and
Trevor's trying to
man,
do something stupid.
yeah, and so I'm going down the straightaway. They're kind of spinning and crashing, and I kind of see them. I'm watching them in the mirror, and all of a sudden, exactly the way Trevor described it, as like a field goal kick. Just I see this car launch in the air and just go straight over, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
I think on the stream I actually went back and watched the replay from his point of view, and it's like, yeah, he wasn't kidding, man. It's just like,
Yeah. Roll, roll, roll your car gently down the track.
but let's see. And that was about the main things that I kind of did. Oh, another. I wrecked the cars. Here, pro tip. It's fun to go to the side of the road and punt all those foam blocks. Because you go down there and dun 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 dun. We've talked about them before. The Radical doesn't have any wings on the front, so they don't stick to it. They just kind of flop up in the air and flop on the track, and it's funny. Now, the very, very last foam block is basically touching a concrete wall. So one time it's like punt, 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 and then as the last block basically moves out of the way, it's like gug. It's like, oh, there's a concrete wall. I didn't see. I thought there was room, like I was going to hit the last block and then pull down on the track. I didn't realize it was basically touching it.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh,
Whoops, my bad. But in the unofficialness of the race, Danny Resser stole the win. Lapped the whole field twice. I mean, he just blew us all away. Partially because I think he was the only one that wasn't wrecking.
I was going to say he was probably the only one not having fun.
Yeah, he's over here like, oh, I get to win a race. No, but Danny won the race. J.E. Hyde, man, he's just did he get a top 5 in every race? I mean,
Well,
he was right up there.
I don't think that counts, but let's see. No, the legend race he did not do so good.
Oh, okay. Well, anyways, he got 2 out of 3. Okay. Then I got third. Matthew Painter got 4th. Trevor 5th. Jeff 6th. Dean 7th. And Dean got disqualified. Sad.
Ignoring the meatball. See, I was going to ignore the meatball until it disqualified me, and then I ended up smashing my car and ended up having to just go to. I ended up taking a tow. I think it was that because the car got mangled beyond recognition.
Okay, I have to point out something funny. All right, lap times in this race. Matthew Painter had a 49.94, which is a pretty respectable lap. But if you blank out Matthew's lap time and you look at everyone else compared to Danny Resser, there is only one person, or two people, excuse me, who are really even remotely close, and that's JE and myself. I ran a 56.99, he ran a 57.45, whereas Danny is hanging out up there in the 49.89s. So he was really cooking our clocks.
Well, that's the thing with that, and that's the Lotus. I mean, compared like that is what 8 seconds quicker.
Yeah.
8-9 seconds quicker
Than the
than
Radicals.
the Radicals, which amazed me. Like it's like,
And I mean, I don't know. JE was in the draft a good bit. I know I was in the draft. So I mean, that's like with us being with other cars. 2, 3 other cars in a line, whereas Danny was pretty much always by himself.
and we're
Except,
talking the Lotus 49 here. We're not even talking the
yeah,
79. Like we're talking the oldest car in the sim.
yeah. So,
And
although
Jeff McPherson's fastest lap time was 1 minute and 10 seconds.
I do remember that Danny said at one point in the race that he was like, "Man, all you guys are out here having all the fun, because we're all wrecking and flipping and laughing." And he's like, "I'm out here driving as fast as I can and hanging on for dear life," because apparently the Lotus was extremely difficult to control at Monza. So
Well, yeah, I mean, like the Radical. I mean, it was still like at that speed, it was unstable. It was like the way that that Monza oval is, I mean, it's you feel like at any given second you're about to go flying off the thing. Is
Yeah.
how it feels driving any car of speed there. So a car is 10 seconds faster. Yeah, I can imagine that would be fun. And I mean, you're basically a cigar tube with a engine on the back of the thing. Like it's that would have been horrifying.
I kind of wish that I would have done it now. Maybe the next fund races we'll do it again. Might drive the Lotus 49.
Oh, definitely. That has got to be, as a matter of, we'll even run two bonus races. One's like, all right, everybody's in a Lotus 49, and then we'll run a second one. It's like, okay, in case you don't have the Lotus 49, we'll have one that everybody can participate in. But Lotus 49's
Yes.
at Monza. Last man to survive wins.
Yes. So that was our fund races.
It was, and they were fun, as
They were a
one would
blast.
expect. They were. So, again, thanks to everybody for coming out, and I hope everybody had a good time, except for Walt. Sorry, Walt.
Hey, he said he had fun complaining, so he still had fun.
But yeah, no, that was it was a great time. We'll do them again, of course. Won't be a year or anything. Like I said, we don't have a set plan. It seems to be, that's our third one. We've been doing this for 2 years, so about every 6 months or so.
Yeah. But I do think we should do them a little bit more often.
Yeah, I mean, even if, yeah, we'll have to come up with a plan. To just have them periodically as opposed to sporadically. So those are two different things completely.
Yes.
But moving on into, towards the end of the show here, let's see. The only other thing that we really have to mention is the fact that we have now moved on to different sports as far as competing with each other. At least this one, I feel like I have a chance, to some degree,
Yes.
compared to basketball. See, basketball, I didn't even know the rules of the game we were trying to play. So, trying to compete in a I don't even know what I'm doing concept is
But
bad.
believe me, there's no way I will be 93 years old and on my deathbed, and I will sit there and remember. I remember the time when I played Trevor in basketball, and he would always laugh at the little man who set a pick.
Why? Why is that man covering his crotch?
And standing
It's like
still for 3 seconds.
it's like, well,
Uh,
that's a very important move in basketball. It's like there's a button
why?
dedicated to cover your crotch and stand still for 3 minutes. What is this, the statue game? I don't know.
Yes. But so instead of throwing large orange balls at baskets, we've decided to hit a little white ball around the field.
Yes, so we played some golf in the one of the newer, well, basically right now about one of the only real golf games on the
Yeah.
PC, called the Golf Club, which isn't actually getting very favorable reviews overall. But I think that's people who are expecting Tiger Woods. It's like
Well,
there's no progression, there's no this, there's no that. It's like I don't know. I hit a button. I started playing golf. I'm good. I mean,
I think a lot of their problem too is they see the Tiger Woods games also had some easiness to them, whereas this game I think is more of a. It's kind of I'm not liking it to iRacing, but it reminds me of iRacing in the sense that this is more of a simulation and not like Mario Kart where you just sit down and play kind of thing. So I wonder if that's throwing some people off. Because me personally, I love it. I think it's awesome. I think it's very challenging, but yet it to me that's what makes it more rewarding when you do a good job, which is how I feel about iRacing.
oh, there was a couple
Um,
shots I made last night. And I literally
yeah,
pumped my fist at.
yeah. I mean, and to tell that story, I'm sitting there building my golf course, which it does have a course builder. Um, I have spent more time doing that than I have playing golf
Mm.
because the course builder is amazing. I will tell you guys, um, me having kind of a creative mind, and it's always been something I wish I could do if I had the money to build a golf course like in real life. But I don't, so I never will. But this game allows me to do that. And wow, they let you do anything with your course. And I have been playing with that course builder a lot. So last night I'm sitting there playing it. Trevor hops on, sends me a message, tells me he hates me a tiny bit. which was a great way to kick off the conversation.
Well, because he'd been
um,
egging me on to get this game, and it's like, I probably don't. I mean, there's other things I'm going to get, and I'm like, da 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 da. And then I jumped on last night, saw I was playing. It's like, at that point in time, I'd actually already bought it and downloaded it. And it's like, all right. And then notice you were on. It's like, all right, I'll jump in. It's like, I hate you a little bit. And then it's like, why? What for? And then it popped up. Trevor's now playing the golf club, and he got it. It's like, I see.
yes, because at first I was like, what did I do? Um, but yeah, and then my favorite part about last night at the beginning there, the way that the multiplayer works on the game is it is kind of actually similar to iRacing in this way. Whereas like on iRacing, you jump online, you go jump in a practice session, anybody can join, and they can see that you're in there and join. Well, that's kind of the way it is with this game, where Trevor started playing around, and I saw it, like it alerted me. Ratface is now playing at such and such golf course and such round and blah blah blah. So I was like, oh okay. So I like go jump in there and join him, and he was almost done with the first hole when I got in there. So I like really quickly play through, try to get to the green, and my ball like rolls across Trevor's screen, like right in front of his ball, and I get this message like 5 seconds later that says, why is your ball on my screen?"
It's like, did you hit it so far off course that it left your game and entered mine? Like, that's one heck of a hook.
Yeah. But yeah, we had a lot of fun playing last night, or at least I did.
Yeah, it was.
Um,
I mean, like I said, it was. I mean, I think there are other multiplayer modes where they're more structured, where you're taking turns, but they kind of have
yeah.
this asynchronous yet live version of multiplayer where it's like, yeah, hey, your buddy's playing, so just jump in and play. And so we could take our shots whenever. We could be on different holes. It didn't matter. Kept our scorecard together, and so we just sat there and chatted for an hour or whatever it was, and played around the golf, and it was pretty cool. And he only beat me by like 10 strokes, even though it was my first game. So
But as I told you, my first game I shot 12 over par because I didn't have a clue what I was doing. The chipping and the putting is difficult to pick up,
hmm.
and you shot 13 over, so you were pretty on par with me. Uh,
Golf reference.
yeah. See, I'm good. Um, but the impressive thing that I haven't done too much of yet is that Trevor decided one time on one of the greens to chip in his ball for like a birdie or a par or something. And then he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm awesome. I'm chipping stuff in." So then he runs with that confidence and does the exact same thing on the very next hole and chips another one in. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh."
It's like, I can't make greens in regulation, but I can just chip it in from the fringe anyway,
Yeah.
or the rough beside the
Um,
green.
yeah, that game does require a bit of strategy, a little bit of math as well. I actually told Trevor last night I had a calculator out because I'm like figuring up yardage and wind and all this stuff. But, and you can't deny this, we got to that par three. It was like a 117-yard shot. The wind was 20 mile an hour coming from our backs. It was a tailwind. We get up on the tee box, and I told Trevor, I was like, don't hit your shot yet because I'm going to set up a shot here. So I like punch in all the math, get all the wind, the elevation change, the carry, to the green and everything. And I'm like, all right, we're going to hit like a sand wedge or something. And I was like, it can only go 95 yards, but that wind's going to carry it. I hit my shot 4 feet from the hole. Trevor walks up 6 feet from the hole. I
Yeah,
was
he's like,
like,
okay.
see?
It's like, I need you to do this club. I need you to aim at this, at this side of this bunker. I need you to do all this stuff. And like, all right, dunk. And there it was. So math works.
Yes.
Yeah. So
In
stay in
math.
school. Yeah.
And if you're not scoring out, go back. So
Uh,
yes, if you play that game, please come play it with us. It is quite fun.
well, and
And
the
if you
other,
don't have it, it's $35.
yeah, I mean, and the other cool thing of it is the fact that it's basically, its main hook, I suppose, is the fact that it's infinite golf. I mean, it's not
Yes.
based on real world golf course, so it's not the I'm going to go golf Pebble Beach and do all this stuff. It's procedurally generated. They have official courses in there, but between the course creator and people making courses available, or when you're talking about the course generator, I saw a video. I watched the Giant Bomb guys did a quick look of this, and I watched them, and it was an earlier version. But I mean, it's like, all right, make a golf course. It's like, all right, what's your tree density, what's your water density, and it just makes an 18-hole golf course procedurally for you. It's like, all right, here's a golf course, tweak it if you want. But I mean, you could just go in and just in a few minutes just say, make me a golf course with these parameters, and it does.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a unique experience every time. Like, that's so
Yeah.
cool.
Or you can go and do what I did and build it hole by hole, and inch by inch. I mean, I'm manually making mine. And that's the point, that Trevor's saying. They don't have all the big courses like Augusta, Pebble, St. Andrews, stuff like that. But people have recreated those courses pretty well, I might add. And there's like 50,000 some created courses on the game. So you're like never going to run out of a golf course to play on. So, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, and it's funny too because the one of the other factors that it was like I had all these things that were leading up to me, me buying the game, and to be clear or to be fair, I guess it does not take much to make me buy games. As I've discussed, I have a Steam library of over 300 games, half of which I've never even played. I just like buying games. It's like a collection. But the fact that I did a little bit of research on the game, and turns out the studio that actually produces the game is based in a little town called Lunenburg, Nova Scotia, which is like an hour from where I grew up. And like it's literally one of the smallest towns in Nova Scotia. Like it's just this, I can't imagine there's a game company sitting there, But so it's like, you know what? All right, I'll give those guys my money. I mean, that's pretty cool. So, supporting the Canadian economy.
Yeah, and as I told Trevor last night, the Tiger Woods games were pretty good, but they were $60. This game is $35 and does more than the Tiger Woods games ever did. So I think it's a pretty good deal.
But anyway, I think you have one last item on the old show notes to mention before we give the show an end, and I go back and crank up my Steam download of the latest game I bought, which is my WWE 2K15 wrestling game, which I'm hopefully going to get a chance to play tonight. But since I can't download it while I'm doing a show, or at least not very fast, then so I'll get to that. But what was the last thing you want to mention there tonight?
Well, I created my third blog post and released it. So, of course, that's the white flag, and it's simracer.com/the white flag. So, that's all I'm going to say. Just go read it.
Yeah, don't need to talk about it. That's the whole point. We
Yep.
create blog posts, extra stuff, extra content.
More racing coming at you fast.
You've got blogs of steel. Anyway, sorry, my poor Duke Nukem imitation and making it more PG orientated. But anyway, I don't think that we have anything further to discuss. This week, the B car is at Talladega, so while I did not get a chance to race at Richmond, I am going to definitely make sure I get a chance to race Talladega this week because me loves me some super speedway racing, so I'm going to give that a shot. Also, what on earth is wrong with Greg Biffle? He cannot race for the life of him. What on earth has happened? I do not know. I am very sad when it comes to real life racing, but maybe he can turn around at Talladega because he's pretty good at super speedway racing. So let's see if he can turn the season around. And I think that's about it for me. So I will say with that will about do it for this week. A big thanks to all of you out there for listening and for participating in our fundraisers and all the ways you participate with us. Remember that the show is available for download on iTunes and Zune under the podcast section, where we would really appreciate a review to help us get the word out. The show is also available on YouTube and Twitch at Ratface Productions, and mirrored over on Chad's YouTube channel, which is It's Cadillac. You can check out the website for information, archive, links, and the polls we mentioned. Polls closing in a few days, so make sure you go over and vote if you haven't done so already. And you can do so over at iRacingTodayRadio.com. You can like the show on Facebook by searching for the iRacing Today Radio Show. Seems like a reasonable thing to search for on Facebook. And, of course, I always say most importantly, but that's not entirely true, but very importantly, follow us on Twitter. I'm at iRacing Today, and Chad is at It's Cadillac.
You can email questions, comments, poll suggestions, and your real life sim racing stories,
Well,
something.
no, don't. Well, you could share those too, but my real life driving was affected by my sim racing stories. We need a shorter title.
Yeah. But you can send those to feedback at iRacingTodayRadio.com. And of course, feel free to add myself and Trevor as friends on the iRacing.com members website so you can come race with us. But if you're not on iRacing, you're thinking about joining. Sorry, I just broke out in song there. You can refer either Trevor, the guy with the beard, or myself, the clean shaven, handsome one, in the referral box when you sign up by entering ratchface at gmail.com or iRacingLegend at gmail.com. But until next week, for the 97th edition of our show, ladies and gentlemen, remember that the race is rarely won in the first turn.
But it is often lost there. Good night, everybody.